Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills Housing Update. Today I'm going to go over May's numbers and I'm going to go over a really interesting set of numbers from last week. So diving right into what happened in May. So my prediction was that we were going to see prices hit 1.2. We didn't quite make it there, but it's pretty darn close. So looking at May of 2022, so May of last year was the month that really started to see inventory pile on and things sort of soften. So in May of 2022, our average price was 1.269 million. In May of 2023, we are at 1.186 million. So we are down 6.5% since last year, but that gap is closing because we have seen like between 15 and 23% on average that we've been down year over year. So what that's saying is that prices are starting to go up again compared to last year. So another notable thing is new listings. In May of 2022, we had 219 new listings. So again, that was the month where inventory really started to come on rapidly. In May of 2023, so this year, we only had 149 listings come on the market. So we are down 32% in terms of new listings. So all of this sort of makes sense to the market that we're feeling because our inventory just is nowhere near where it was last year at this time. And so to see those low inventory levels coming on the market and buyer demand is, I would say, stronger than it was last year, all of these numbers just make sense. Like when we're looking at where we've come from, in April, our average price was under 1.1. In March, it was slightly over 1.1. So to be up close to that 1.2 mark, A, is not a surprise based on what we've been seeing, and B, it's just showing where our prices are going. They're bouncing back right now. We do have this like possible interest rate increase coming tomorrow. We don't know, but there's speculation that they might raise it again. So that's going to definitely be a factor that changes the market. So thinking about where we've come from this year, in April, our average price was under 1.1. In March, it was slightly over 1.1. So to be at almost 1.2, I mean, everything we saw in terms of our weekly market updates supports that our price was going to go up. But basically, prices are on the rebound, and some of the sales that we have seen are in line with what things got in the peak of 2022. Some of the sales in May, I would say, were similar pricing to what we were seeing in the height. I was like, whoa, did that actually update for that? So we're starting to see people come back out and, you know, lots of stuff getting 100,000 over asking again. So we're right back. It's going to be really interesting if this interest rate hike does come tomorrow, what's going to happen to the market. So looking at our sales last week, this is also really interesting. I talked last week about how inventory was rising. Well, it is continuing to rise. So in Georgetown last week, we had 15 sales. That is not super high, but is higher than our normal amount. But we had 28 new listings. Like we were seeing 10 plus new listings multiple days last week throughout Halton Hills. So 28 new listings in Georgetown is a ton of new listings. If this keeps up, we are definitely going to be shifting back into a buyer's market. It's going to take a little bit to get there, and because there is like backlog of buyer demand. But I do think if we start to see weeks of this inventory coming, we are definitely going to be in a shifted market. Acton this week. Acton had 7 sales this week. This is the second week in a row where Acton saw 7 sales. There has been more sales in Acton the last 2 weeks than all the weeks prior in May and all of April. So just like a crazy week in Acton. Again, when Georgetown's inventory is feeling low, Acton starts to pick up, but just huge weeks in Acton this week. And a lot of, like a couple of those were over the million mark. So it's not just that lower price point that's moving in Acton again, the higher price point's starting to move again. And looking at new listings, we had 8 new listings, so almost balanced there. And then of those 7, 5 of them got over asking. So really busy in Acton right now. Glen Williams had no sales and no new listings. Limehouse had 1 sale and no new listings. And the rural market had 3 sales. Again, that's another big week for the rural market, and 4 new listings, which is kind of a high number for the rural market. market. So that's what happened last week. I think that is really interesting. So now looking at active inventory. Last week we were at 120 active listings. This week we are up to 129. So we were sitting around 100 to 105 active listings for what felt like months. And now in the last few weeks, things have started to pile on a bit and we're up to almost 130. That is, I think, a significant thing to note, let's say, because I think that this could be the start of like our piling on of inventory. We're going to be watching it closely. Sales are still moving pretty rapidly, but at the pace that we're seeing new listings, it's just at some point it shifts, and I think we're getting close to that. So Georgetown this week went from 64 to 75 active listings, a massive jump in Georgetown. We haven't seen that number in a very long time. So 75 listings available in Georgetown. Looking at our price points, under 800,000 is up from 7 to 12. So a lot available under 800,000. Something to note is some of those like smaller detached homes are starting to list at $799 and holding off offers. So it's skewing our price points quite a bit because there's a couple properties in that under 800 that are for sure going to sell over 800, but that's sort of the market that we're back in, I think, temporarily. 800 to $1 million actually went down from 11 to 10 active listings. Still very, very busy in that price point. 1 to 1.5 million is up from 17 to 22 active listings. That is getting high. It's nowhere near where we were, but comparatively, like, that price point is starting to pile on stuff, as is the 1.5 million. So 1.5 million went from 29 to 31 active listings. We are seeing a lot of stuff coming up, and of those 31, 16 of them are over 2 million. So we have those subdivision homes again trying to get that 2 million plus. So it's going to be interesting to see if we get back into the market where a subdivision home can actually get 2 million plus. So lots happening within our active price points, but that million plus, lots of people are getting their homes on the market. There was actually quite a few properties this week that had tried to sell in the fall that re-entered and are already either sold or conditionally sold. So it's just a sign of the times. Looking at Acton remained the same at 18 active listings. Glen Williams remained the same at 5. In the Glen, you have one house sitting just under 1.2 million, and then after that, you've got to jump right to 2.3. So mostly high ticket stuff available in the Glen. Limehouse is down to 2 active listings, and the rural market is down slightly to 29 active listings. We did have a couple properties terminate and come off the market this week, so it sort of skewed our numbers. So overall, May numbers, not a huge surprise. I definitely felt like we'd be closer to that 1.2. I thought we might hit 1.2, but we're pretty darn close. And so to only be down 6.5% versus 2022, that's the first month that it's been less than double digits in terms of our year over year numbers. It's getting very close to where we were last year. The weekly numbers are also interesting because we are seeing a huge amount of inventory coming on. We've sort of been waiting for this. Everyone is now hearing about how busy the market is, and so we are starting to see a lot of homes coming on the market. Another thing is a lot of people are buying again and trading up, which is something that we felt halted for a bit. So if next week our inventory rises again, and then the week after that, I will put money that we are going to go into basically an inventory climb through the summer. So I will be watching this closely because these numbers are going in the direction that they haven't been going in months. So I'll be back next Tuesday to see what happens the first week of June. Have a great week, everyone.